Hey, people. Today we're going to be reading Chapter 2 of I Survived the Bombing of Pearl Harbor in 1941 by Lauren Tarshis. Tarshis. One day earlier, December 6th, 1941. Pearl City, Hawaii. Danny stood with his mother at the kitchen window of their tiny house. Ma put her arm around Danny. Danny, just look at that view, she said. Can you believe we live here? I think it's the most beautiful place on earth. Ma was right. It looked like a postcard out here. With the palm trees swaying in the breeze, the bushes covered the pink and white flowers, and the ocean a sparkling silver strip in the distance. Danny couldn't stand looking at it. All he wanted was to be back in New York City, looking at his old apartment window at the jumble of dirty buildings, the smoke thick in the air, the garbage in the streets, and his best friend, Finn, waving to him from down the alley below. Ma thought coming here would give Danny a fresh start. She wanted him to get away from danger and trouble, away from Earl Gaskey and his gang. It was true that Danny and Finn had gotten into trouble sometimes. Nothing big, just skipping school and sneaking into movie houses and nabbing an apple or two from the fruit stand. Sure, they ran with Earl and his gang. Some folks in the neighborhood said Earl was a vicious criminal and he'd break your legs if you looked at him wrong. But others said he and his guys protected the streets and took care of old ladies. He had always been good to Danny and Finn. He paid them $1 a day to run errands. He even taught them how to drive one of his cars. Sometimes it was scary, being on the streets so much, just Danny and Finn. But no matter what they were up to, they always looked for each other. Or they always looked out for each other. Because who else was going to look out for him? Danny's father had been gone since Danny was born. Ma did her best, but how could she watch over Danny when she was working all the time? She was so tired when she got home from her nursing shift at the hospital. After kissing Danny hello, she would close her eyes for 10 minutes, then make dinner, and head out to clean offices until midnight. And Finn's parents had 5 other kids crammed to a dark and Finn's parents had 5 other kids crammed into a dark 2-room apartment. So Danny and Finn stuck together, more than best friends, closer even than brothers. As long as they had each other, they felt like nothing bad could ever happen to them. And nothing ever did. Until one night, 2 months ago. Even standing here, looking on the palm trees, it came back to Danny. It was like a horror movie playing in his mind. He could hear the screech of the metal on the fire escape breaking away from the building. He had heard Finn shout, the thud of Finn's body hitting the sidewalk, the blood seeping out of his head, the flashlights of the ambulance. Then later seeing him at the hospital bed, groaning in pain. Is that at the night Ma said we had to leave the city? It's time for us to go, Ma said. It was that night that Ma said we had to leave the city. It's time for us to go, Ma said, before something terrible happens to you. When she first told him that they were moving to Hawaii, Danny thought she was kidding. Wasn't Hawaii a made-up place like Shangri-La? But no. It turned out it was a bunch of islands owned by America. There was a huge U.S. military base there called Pearl Harbor. They needed nurses at a hospital and an air base called Hickam. They wanted Ma right away. A week later, the Cranes were on a train heading to San Francisco. From there, they took a ship halfway across the Pacific Ocean to Oahu, one of the Hawaiian Islands. Ma kept telling Danny that they needed to put New York behind them. We're starting out fresh, she said. But how could Danny turn his back on Finn? He couldn't. Not when Finn needed him most. Besides, it was Danny's fault Finn got hurt. He was the one who wanted to climb the fire escape to explore that abandoned building on 23rd Street. Finn said it was a bad idea, but Danny told him to stop being a sissy. Then, as they were climbing up past the second floor, there was a terrible screech as the rusted metal of the fire escape gave away. Danny managed to climb onto the landing, but not Finn. He fell crashing into the cement sidewalk below. And now Danny was an ocean, and a continent away. But he had to get back to New York. A ship called the Carmela was steaming out of Honolulu Harbor tomorrow morning, heading back to the mainland. Ma had no idea, but Danny was going to be on that ship. So that is the end of Chapter 2. Bye-bye, people.